I'm super excited about, having the COTS people become successful in what they're doing, and they have a lot of work to do, but I think they'll get that done. Rocket technology has been around for a long time. It's not like you just slap it together and it goes up. It's not quite that easy, but it's not too far off of that. I mean, we have had a lot of history of building rockets here. So those guys take care of the transportation up and down. I'm taking care of the manufacturing up there and then the sales of what's being manufactured on the back end. So in the nanotechnology part of it, all of that's nano. Every bit of it is. When you talk about atoms, you're talking about nano, and there's a whole lot of uses for this. There's substrates that are very, very valuable. I was asking somebody the other day, a scientist, and they always try to make everything so complicated. And I asked him a question that was like, well, if I could go build a perfect substrate, how little would like a Pentium processor be? And he picked up his ballpoint pen and he goes, about the end of that. I said, really? That's really interesting. I mean, that kind of changed everything? And he goes, yeah, it does. And I said, so if I can make perfect substrates up there on the station and bring it back, how valuable would that be? And he goes, well, I don't know, how many are you going to make? And I said, let's call it a notepad. And he goes, a notepad? And he rips off the notepad. And I go, yeah, that. And he says, well, you're talking about probably 100 layers of the substrate too here, because this notepad, this paper is very, very thick at the atomic level. And I said, yeah, and he goes, I think that probably that would be the inventory of Dell computer for a year. I went, that's really valuable. I can get into that. So I started looking at it, and it turns out the University of Houston has done a lot of that work with what's called the wake shield. And they've kind of proven out that you can create, these perfect substrates. There's some work that needs to be done in that area, but that's kind of where we're headed towards. So when you see the convergences of the bio side, the nano side, and the microgravity part of the International Space Station, along with our transportation systems that are being developed, we got a package that'll work. And the time is just now. I mean, when you end up being a question at 11 years old on about an investment opportunity, time comes up in every single one of your discussions, and that time becomes very, very important. And the older we get and the less of it we have, it becomes really important. And as you go through, you end up understanding exactly kind of where time fits into the equation of the analysis of the investment returns. And I would not have done this 5 years ago. It wasn't time. They hadn't completed it. They weren't staring at the moon saying, oh, it's the moon, the ISS, you can have it, I don't care. You had to get to that point in order to be able to have the opportunities that you have today. This conference wasn't here, a year ago or 2 years ago or 3. Why is it here today? Why are all these people becoming assembled? And I was in New York in one just the other day and spoke at that one as well. It's because people are feeling that the time is right. And it is right. And I don't see any impediment in that. I don't see where NASA all of a sudden changes their mind about what they want to do with the ISS. I think if NASA doesn't want to do it, you have the Russians, you have now the Europeans, and you will soon have the Japanese. And those guys all have capacity up there. So, the time is now. And, you got to get in now, because it'll end up moving away pretty quickly, as a matter of fact. People will take their positions, and as the music is running, and as soon as it stops, everybody's going to sit down, and people need to have their their seats at the table when it happens. But I think we got probably about, I don't know, maybe 24 months is kind of my analytical analysis of when you need to take your seat at the table. And I think you're seeing everybody kind of line up. You see the launch guys, and you see ourselves, and you see the other people, the other providers that are kind of coming into the game. So I think the time is now, and that's really what my message is that it's here. So there you have it.